I'm the sports professor, Rick Horrow. Welcome to Beyond the Scoreboard, Inside the Mega Events. It's a trillion-dollar sports business, to be sure, and about 50 to 60% of those dollars are wrapped up in the mega events, the championships, Super Bowls, All-Star Games, World Series, Wimbledon, tennis majors, golf majors, NASCAR championships, IndyCar championships, Ryder Cup. All of those too numerous to mention. I'm in my office to kick off the show, but I'm not here a lot. I'll be on the road on a weekly basis to bring you the inside tips from those major events. The balance sheets, who wins, who loses, the interviews, how you put on the events, and how you sustain them. This is all brought to you by Edelman Financial.
Money doesn't come with instructions. That's why we created Edelman Financial Services to help you with everything from college and retirement planning to managing your investments, helping you achieve retirement security. We're among the nation's top financial advisors. Come see how we can help you.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow, inside the mega events. We're inside Hard Rock Stadium. It's before a game with the Miami Hurricanes and the North Carolina Tar Heels. It's a Thursday night game. Television drives it, as they always do. A little bit before kickoff. The crowds will come in. Believe me, the University of Miami has experienced a resurgence. But this is all about the economics of college football. That's what we're covering and dealing with today. According to Forbes, the top 25 teams generate about $2.5 billion in revenue. Not unpredictably, 10 of the top 25 are SEC, 7 are Big Ten. When you get to ACC, two schools tonight, you'll realize that the FSU Seminoles are 17. That's basically it for the top 25. It's going to change next year. I'll tell you why. But before we get into that, we see the stadium filling up. Turnkey poll of about 2,000 industry executives. They were talking about what's the future of college football and what do they do to keep themselves busy. 52% say developing new revenue streams, 20% cutting expenses, 14% traditional commercial revenue, 11% fundraising, and 3% no response looking for trends. The bottom line is the 3% are pretty truthful. Everybody's looking for trends, especially for new sources of revenue. We'll talk about those when we come back, and we'll get ready for the game. We've obviously had it, getting into a big weekend of college football. Where does the ACC stack up, and how do teams generate more revenue? Back in a minute. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about revenue. We've talked about it before, and turnstiles will be clicking. University of Miami has a special arrangement, Miami Dolphins, Hard Rock Stadium. So they play their 6 or 7 home games a year in a stadium where they have no construction debt. They don't get a lot of the non-hurricane related revenue either, but that is a trade-off in South Florida if they've tried a number of years to get a stadium done. But take a look at some of the numbers according to, again, Forbes and Sports Business Journal. Texas A&M and Texas up there, about $212 to $215 million of football revenue this next year. Ticket sales about $72 million, contributions about $40 to $50 million, and licensing and merchandising about $86 million. So what does that mean in terms of new revenue for middle-of-the-level schools like the University of Miami, a highly successful football program in the middle of an urban area that's dominated by the Dolphins? University of North Carolina, a very significant program in the middle of the ACC. It's basketball school. So how do you generate revenue? First, overall, the trend exists for naming rights. It used to be anathema. Nobody wanted to do that. They wanted to preserve the ability for corporations not to be involved in the name. Well, Alaska Airlines changed that, $41 million with Husky Stadium. And then the other issue is the University of South Carolina is starting to generate some dollars. Louisville as well. Kentucky has generated some dollars with their new deal. And University of Southern California did as well. The United Airlines going to the Olympics. That stadium open for bid. I'll watch that in the future. Number 2, as we look at other opportunities, how about alcohol sales? This year, about 45% of the schools are generating significant money from alcohol sales. College campuses, carding, over 18, over 21, yeah, that's an issue, but far outweighed by the revenue it produces. And it has been the ivory tower of the suites up there will get the revenue from alcohol, at least as part of the corporate packages, and the individual sales, no. Hard Rock, Pro Stadium, beer sales done here. It is a trend. Third, television, television, television. The ACC's payouts have been about $25 million per school, which is why the only team in the top 25 was FSU at 17. This next year, after the deal with the ACC network and ESPN, adding another $15 to $20 million to the bottom line from television alone. And that will mean about a $40 million a year payout per school across the board. Well, the SEC and the Pac-12 and certainly the Big 12 have cornered the markets on individual networks for teams themselves or a network deal with ESPN or otherwise. Television drives the business, ticket sales up there as well, but certainly the key is how do you do this not only on TV but on the digital, and now for the first time, as we've had, the crossing of the line. More people, especially the college demographics, are watching games on devices than they are on televisions. So what do you do about it? You maximize the digital revenue as well. So overall, we have a discussion about the Power Fives and the playoffs and what happens with revenue. We also have a discussion long-term about pay-per-play, governance, athletes. Notre Dame said, if there's pay-per-play, we're out. Not sure if that's a threat or if it's real, but the bottom line is if I'm an athletic director, I focus long and hard on the ability to generate significant revenues now from all of these sources we've talked about, regardless of the result of the game behind me. I'm Rick Horrow. It's Facebook. See you next week.